about your system before attempting this. So in this tutorial, I'm going to assume you already know a bit or about Linux. Let's say you're a beginner to intermediate user on the threshold and want to get a bit more experience down with Ubuntu, but you want to do a minimal install this time. You've come to the right place. I'm going to assume that you know how to put the ISO image on a flash drive or CD, whatever medium you're going to use. So let's get started. Right here, you're going to be presented with a few options after you boot via the medium. Install, command line install, advanced options, which has, of course, advanced options, and help. I'm going to be choosing install here, so just press enter. Gonna wait here. In this tutorial, I won't be able to cover absolutely every single aspect of Ubuntu Minimal installation, but I'm going to be covering as much as I can in a reasonable amount of time. So right here, you're going to be presented with a menu that says select a language and instructions on the bottom portion of the screen. Just follow those and you should be absolutely fine. So right here, we have languages to select. Now, just choose the language that you want to use during the whole installation and afterwards as well, while you're using the system. I am doing this in a virtual machine. Things should be the same for you as well, though. So English is what I'm going to be using. The country, territory, or area. Select the location you live in. If a place you live in isn't in this list, then choose other. And right here, just choose the region you live in, and then the country you live in. After that, it'll tell you to configure the keyboard. Now, you'll be able to either the installer detect the keyboard you're using, or do it by yourself, which is what I usually do. So I select no. Now you just have to choose the language of the keyboard you're using. Mine is English US. And then the layout. The default here is QWERTY, which is what I use. There's also a few alternate layouts for you. Dvorak, programmers Dvorak, Macintosh, blah blah blah. So choose accordingly to the keyboard you're using. Alright, here it's going to be detecting the network hardware. So if you have Ethernet, you'll be fine. It'll do everything automatically. However, if you do have wireless, it will ask if you would rather use the wireless or Ethernet. If you choose wireless, it'll just set you up with a menu that will say it'll show a bunch of different networks you can connect to. So just choose accordingly and then put in the password for that network. Right here, we are presented with a hostname to choose. Which one shall we choose? Hostname will be basically what the computer will be known as on the network. You can name it anything you want. I just choose Ubuntu Minimal VM just to describe my virtual machine. It can be descriptive, which is always helpful, or it can be anything really. Name it after your favorite element, or an anime character, or a book, or a company or something, I don't know. Or a 3-letter government agency. Alright, so press enter and we're presented with choosing a mirror. Basically, this is where the computer will go to get the software that you need to install. Choose a mirror that, just choose your country here, and if your country isn't displayed here, then choose a country that is relatively close to the one you live in. In my case, I live in the United States, so that's what I'm going to choose. Ubuntu Archive Mirror. Basically, just follow what it says with a suggestion. Usually, your country code.archiveubuntu.com is a good choice, and I'm going to stick with that. I don't have a choice anyway, it's the only one it gives me. HTTP proxy information. I've never done this before, and I don't really think that many of you would need to set this up. I just leave it blank because I don't need an HTTP proxy. Alright, so now it's going to be getting everything it needs to finish the installation. This will be things such as the bootloader, installer, partition maker, and all those kinds of things. So all you have to do now is wait, and I'll meet you there after it's all done. Options after you boot via the medium. Install, command line install, advanced options, which has, of course, advanced options, and help. I'm going to be choosing install here, so just press enter. Alright, so it has completed. Now what we're going to do is set up our user and passwords. So Ubuntu Minimal will come with two users, the root account and your user account. So your user account is just going to be you. So full name for the user. Choose your name. I'm going to put mine in. And I do my first name and then my last initial because I need to hide my identity so I can continue my elite hacking operations. And it's not good if everybody knows who I am. But you can just put your full name here, like it says. Choosing a username for your account, I just put my first name. It is the default, which is what I stick with. Everything has to be lowercase. You can add numbers to it as well, though. Choose whatever you want. Alright, so now what we're going to do is set up the password we're going to use for the user and the root account. It'll be the same password. So choose something that you like to use. Just make sure it isn't something like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 or something. Alright, now we're presented the choice to encrypt our home directory. This will just be mounted on and off easily when you log into your account. So you won't have to worry about doing any fancy stuff. Here, let's say you're going to choose yes. It'll set up everything by itself. Configure the clock. It'll try and automatically detect the time zone that you live in, and if so, say yes. But let's say it is wrong because it's a computer, and the computer always lies. So we're going to choose no in that case. Select your time zone. So basically, it will be based off of the country that you chose that you lived in. So I live in Eastern, and it chooses the right one. Alright. I'm gonna have to wait for it to set everything up. We're set up with, we're presented with disk partitioning stuff. You have a few options here. Guided, using the entire disk. Do the same but with LVM, and do the same but with encryption. Or you can use manual, of course. So, I'm not going to be able to cover everything here in a reasonable amount of time, so I'm just going to assume you're going to be using guided. And, yeah, so select the disk you want to partition. Remember to choose your hard drive and not the flash drive. Check with the capacity and the labeling. Make sure that it's the hard drive you're installing to, or the SSD, and not the flash drive, because that could be pretty bad. Alright, so Guided will automatically just set you up with a root partition that is ext4 and a single swap partition. Alright, change this to disk. Just look at everything and see if everything's fine, and choose yes. Alright, it's installing the base system. Now all you have to do is wait. Check on it every once in a while. Make sure that it didn't totally mess itself up. Alright, so what we're going to have to do is, say if we want to do automatic updates. Now, if you do want to do automatic updates, it will only do security updates by itself. No automatic updates means you'll have to do a sudo apt-get upgrade if you need any updates. So, choose what you want. I'm going to choose no automatic updates here. And it'll continue on. Just wait a bit more. Alright, so here you're going to be presented with a whole big menu of things you might want to install with the installer instead of doing it after the installation. There's a whole lot of things you can choose from. Things like desktop environments, a whole bunch of desktop environments here, fonts, and server stuff. So, yes. So, I'm going to go through a few of the basics that you might want to do. Basic Ubuntu server. Well, that's basically what you're going to be set up if you're using Ubuntu server. OpenSSH server is for if you need to SSH into the machine, which could be useful. DNS server is if you're going to be DNS server is something you will need if you're going to put the machine onto you're gonna need to put this machine on the internet. Lamp server is basically for transferring files back and forth. Mail server, so if you want to set up an email server. PostgreSQL database. Database stuff. So you need to keep logs or statistics and stuff for TeamSpeak or whatever. Print server, if you ever need to use a printer to print stuff out. Hey, Samba file server. This is also to transfer files from machine to machine. Tomcat Java server. I'm not actually familiar with this one. Ubuntu Cloud Image. I'm not familiar with this one either. Virtual machine host. If you want to run some virtual machines, is going to install a few modules. 2D, 3D creation and editing suite. Audio recording editing suite, and there's desktop environments and a whole bunch of other stuff as well here. I'm not going to go through all of it, but this might set you up with things like GIMP and Blender and such. And this might set you up with Audacity and Hydrogen and LMMS. And there's just a whole bunch of stuff you can look through and see what you want. Fonts, always useful. Publishing applications, I'm guessing things like LibreOffice. Photography and stuff, things like Darktable, I'm guessing. But you can choose whatever you need. So I'm going to leave you to your own devices. So just use space to select things that you want to use, and then enter to confirm everything. So you're going to just wait for it to complete. Alright guys, so right here you can see it's asking to install the bootloader, which will be grub. Install the grub bootloader to the master boot record. Now right here, what I usually do to make sure that it's not installing it to my flash drive, which it sometimes does, I say no. And then I manually enter the device. Now, you should have taken note of the device that you what drive that you installed it in. In my case, it only showed up as one drive, so it would be dev SDA. Remember to take note of that when you install Ubuntu for yourself, Ubuntu Minimal. Enter, and we'll install the grub bootloader. It's going to finish up the installation, configure, and install everything it needs. So right now it's asking if the system clock is set to UTC. Most of the time it should, unless you've already installed Windows to the computer. So if Windows isn't installed to the computer, then just say yes. But if it isn't, say no. That's because Windows likes to set the system clock to local time. Instead, Linux would work better with the time set to UTC. Alright, so our installation is all done. And now we can press, we're going to choose continue. Finish up the installation. It's going to sig kill. Sig term, man. We can boot right up. I'm going to power off the virtual machine. I'm going to take out the disk of the virtual machine. Hi.